Hey guys, welcome back. Alright, so I'm back from the holidays, continuing to work on the car. I just finished cleaning off the front brakes, so the caliper and the bracket, I've pretty much kind of sanded it down, used a huge abrasive brush to get a lot of that rust off, and then finished it off with a wire wheel and then kind of like a sanding pad type thing, and they look pretty good. I was thinking about painting them, but I started getting a little patient actually, and I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna throw them on so that way I can try to get this car on the road soon, try to get it running, test drive it, make sure everything's good. I make sure if there's anything wrong with it, try to fix it as soon as possible. Right now, I threw on all the brakes. All the brakes are on. All the brake lines are attached, hopefully. But I have a bottle of brake fluid right here. I'm gonna fill the reservoir with it. And right now, I'm not too worried about filling up the brakes, but I want to fill up the brake booster and then pump the clutch. Because I want to refill the clutch line. And I was waiting until all the lines were hooked up, so if any of it does go through the lines, it won't start spilling everywhere. So all of that's hooked up, ready to go. I'm not going to pump the brakes, but I am going to fill the brake booster and try to fill the clutch line. So we're going to do that, test the clutch, make sure that's good to go. And once that's good, I might maybe pump the brakes just until they're filled. I might just wait later because I'm going to have to pump the whole system down anyway, so I might just wait on that. But do that, throw the radiator back on, hook up all the hoses, throw the airbox on, all of that, and then it should be ready to go. Just throw on the wheels and pull it out of the garage and go from there. So I'm gonna fill that up, pump the clutch, and then try to get that clutch filled with fluid. Alright guys, the next morning here. I got the airbox on, I put the radiator on, I just filled it up right now. Definitely needs to be cycled so that way all the coolant can go through the system, because I refilled it with the coolant I drained out of it, but it started pouring out, so it needs to be cycled through the system so we can continue filling it. But so there's still no cats on it. Drive shaft's not back in. So I'm probably just gonna start it and hold the clutch in the whole time, just keep it in neutral. It's gonna be loud, but I think I'm just gonna go for it. It's kind of early in the morning. I'm probably gonna wake up a few people, but honestly, I can't wait anymore. So I'm gonna start it up. Hopefully she starts. Hopefully there's enough charge in the battery. But we're gonna see. So here goes nothing. First start. Oh, she smells. Alright guys, welcome back. Alright, so I got quite a little bit more work done on the car. So I've thrown in the intake, the radiator, filled with coolant. I just need to run it so that way I can purge all the air out of the system. I threw the brakes on, so I cleaned them up for the most part, so they're definitely a lot cleaner than what they were. So for now, that's fine. I was gonna try to paint them, but I'm probably just gonna save that for later. So with these, I just need to tighten them down and then bleed the brakes, and then should be ready to throw the wheels on and it'll be good to go. I threw the drive shaft in, bolted that down, tightened it down, and I just threw on the cats so that way I can put the O2 sensors back on, so that way I don't get a check engine code. So if there is anything else, I can read it with the OBD2 scanner. But if no check engine code shows up, then we're good to go there. I accidentally forgot to plug in the fan earlier. I couldn't figure out where the connector went. I got tucked under here, so that's plugged in now. This is still kind of like a wiring mess, but once I know that it runs and everything's good to go, I'll be able to go from there and make sure or tidy it up and make it look pretty. But for now, I'll start it up just to make sure that the check engine light clears. I knew it was because of the O2 sensors, but I just want to make sure that it does clear after that, because I just plug them back in and then we'll go from there. Alright guys, welcome back. Alright, so we got the car running. Put the cats back on. I can't get the overpipes on over the axle because I've already bolted up the rear axle and put the fuel tank in, so I don't have enough room to clear in there. I'd have to get the car higher up to get them to clear over. So for the time being, those are just going to kind of lay there. I'll put the exhaust on later, it's fine. It's not really that big of an issue. The issue I'm running into now, trying to bleed the brakes. Now, bleeding the brakes themselves, not a very difficult task. But because the whole system was disconnected, it's all empty. There's not really any fluid in it whatsoever. I filled the reservoir, and I've bled the clutch. And actually, I think that the squeaking from the slave cylinder is gone now. So I'm glad about that. But I still need to, I think I have to fill the booster, maybe. I've been pushing the brake a lot yesterday. It looks like it's still kind of spongy, mushy. So I'm going to have to try to find a way to bleed that, or fill it at least. And you have to bleed the ABS unit. As far as I know on this style, I don't see any kind of bleeder anywhere. So I've been kind of trying to look it up. I couldn't really find anything on how to bleed ABS unit on this year Mustang. So the only other option is you have to get a scan tool that you hook up to your OBD2's port, and it has a program on there that runs a bleeder function. Basically just opens up the valves or the little pockets in the ABS unit that would normally occur when the ABS is triggering itself. Let's say you slam the brakes and the ABS triggers. Basically does that. So that way you can purge all the air out of the ABS unit. Being that the whole system was pulled out, it's pretty much full of air. I've been trying to push on the brakes, but I don't think it's actually filling the ABS unit. So I'm gonna have to get one of those tools. I actually just ordered it. That's gonna come in tomorrow. So for the time being, I'm trying to find the best way to still try to fill the rest of the lines with brake fluid. I don't know if it's gonna be possible, so I'm gonna have to see about that. One of the things, I didn't look at this until afterwards, but for the booster itself, to bleed the booster, actually it's still at the max line. To bleed the booster, you have to take off those two lines right there, and then get two clear lines and feed it back into itself, and then pump the brake until it starts coming out clear. That's how you purge the booster. I didn't do that yet, so I might end up just doing that until I get the scan tool tomorrow, just so I can get all the air out of the booster. I don't know if it's empty. It probably is, so I'm just gonna do that just in case. So I still have these two lines that I replaced because one of them was cracked. So when I got the replacement one, it's back here somewhere. When I got the replacement one, I got both of them. So I still have the originals right here, which one of these is the one that was broken. That one right here. So this one was broken right there. You can see it has a huge cut ran halfway through. But what I need, all I need, if I can get this out, is these ends right here. I just need the ends. I need to cut those off, feed it onto a clear line. That way I can bleed the reservoir and the booster and go on to the next step. So that's the first step to bleed the whole system, is you have to bleed the booster. Once you bleed the booster, then you bleed the ABS unit. or I guess the hydraulic control unit is what it's called in the service manual. But I guess you need the tool for that, as far as I know. Otherwise, you can take it to the dealership and they'll probably be able to do it for you. I definitely wouldn't trust driving it without the ABS, especially if you came and get brake fluid out of the brakes. I still haven't started it yet while I was trying to bleed it. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to start it up, keep pressing at the brakes, see if I can get some of the air out of the system. At least get fluid to the brakes. If not, just going to have to wait until I get the scan tool so I can bleed the air out of the ABS unit. I'm letting her warm up, trying to get the coolant cycle through the system. I don't know if you can really kind of see it through there. So, still pretty much at the top of that cold fill line. So, I'm gonna let it cycle, warm up, try to get the coolant pretty much push out of the system. Alright, so another thing I'm working on, I just bought these taillights. They're off either a 13 or 14 Mustang, and they already had the covers cracked. So the guy that I bought them from, he removed the covers. So I got the taillights here plugged in, and we're going to test them out. That light's really bright. Yeah, test them out. Yep. And this one looks good. Alright, so all the lights turn on, look good. I gotta try it in reverse here in a sec. I'm jumping the car, put it in reverse. But the plan is, since these are already missing the covers, obviously they don't fit this body style. But I'm gonna take these taillights, I'm gonna take them apart, and we're gonna retrofit them on to the housing of the older body style. So this one's a lot more flat, so I'm gonna have to see how well this comes apart, as far as like taking apart all of the LED boards and the little covers off of that. Once I get those off, I can start figuring out how I'm gonna fit them on there, so that way I can have something that's quite literally plug and play. The guy I was talking to on Instagram, on Mustang Coyote Swap, he's also working on getting his Gen 1 S197 Coyote swapped. He's swapping everything out of that, the donor, into his own, just like I am. We were working on trying to get the taillights to work, and he figured out that to get the taillights to work sequentially, you have to have the outage line to a ground. And then we tried it, and we saw that it worked, and then we ran into the issue that once both taillights are plugged in like that, with the outage line to a ground, the taillights don't work as they should be. And that's because it's sensing both to a ground when it's supposed to sense it at the ground only when that sequential is working. So what he ended up doing is he just got some relays, routed the outage line to that relay, and then spliced it into these the turn signal. So whenever the turn signal receives a signal for that side to blink, the relay energizes and the outage line is grounded, so that way your sequentials work. And then when the signal goes away, the relay de-energizes and the outage line is shorted open so that it's not connected to ground, so it doesn't sense both to a ground at the same time. I could do that. I have the stuff I need to be able to do that, but I saw these on OfferUp for a really good price. It was missing one of the plugs, which fortunately I still have the plugs from the other 13 headlights I have, but I'm trying to sell those, so for the time being I'm using the plug from that just to test these out. And then once I take them apart and retrofit them to that housing, plug them back in, throw them on, test them out, make sure they all work good, and be able to go from there. I don't have to create extra wiring here. I just have to create a new taillight that can fit onto here, plug it in, and then we're good to go. Alright guys, welcome back. Alright, so today we're going to be finishing up the brake system. So I got all the brake lines are on, I got the ABS in, it's all bolted down, tightened down, everything's torqued to spec. Now the only thing we need to do is bleed the ABS unit. And for that, what we're going to use today is a specialized tool by Autotel. It is I think it's a Check Max Pro. Basically it has a function on there that you just hook it up to the OBD2 port, pull it up, and then you're gonna put in your vehicle brand and type and all of that, and then its specs, and then you put all that in there, and then you just tell it to bleed the system, and then it'll automatically open all those valves and purge all the air out of the system. You'll be good to go from there. And I'm just gonna go to each 4 of the brakes and then purge them from there. With this tool I got here, I got a vacuum pump, so we're gonna do that. And then we're gonna go from there and make sure all the brakes are good, push down the brakes, make sure they're braking hard. And then after that, not really much else. I still need to hook up the steering column to the steering rack shaft. Once I do that, tighten down the bolts on the tie rod ends and for the spindle to the lower control arms. And then the link end from the front sway bar, tighten that down. And then we should be good to go on the road. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so what we got here is the Autotel MaxiCheck Pro, which comes with your USB plug, so you can plug into a computer, and your OBD2 port. So we're going to take this, pull this out. I'm gonna hook this up like so. Pull this out of the way. Alright, then you're just going to want to hook it up. Here we go. Key's already in. It's loading up. Can't really see it. It's a little better, but not really. So you got, come on, focus. OBD2. ABS SRS, so that's the one we're going to be needing is ABS because we need to purge the ABS module. Alright, so then you're going to want to go to the ABS SRS, click OK, USA, it is a Ford. Alright, once you put the VIN in, you're going to select option, so control unit, and we're gonna go to the ABS module. Tester not communicating with control unit. Alright, that's weird. And there's always something. Alright, so I think I might have found out the issue with the ABS module. So I was taking a closer look at this. I had known it was slightly broken, the cable connector, when I had put it on. But then taking a closer look at it, I didn't realize it. But looking at it from this angle, if you can't see it, it's crooked. So what I'm thinking is happening is it's getting a partial signal but not a full signal because of the fact that this is all broken. This clip itself too, it kind of broke in half, so this whole thing's not even sitting right. And I just noticed on the bottom, I didn't even see this one until just now, that little tab on the bottom is not even It's not even like slid into where it's supposed to be. So what I'm gonna do now is try to fix this connector so I can plug it in all the way properly and then seat it all the way down, and then try the scan tool again one more time, see what happens. Alright, so I pulled the cover off, readjusted it, and now it's on perfectly straight. The little guides went down all the way instead of kind of like springing back up. It is still broken, but as long as it sits in there, it doesn't come off, we should be good to go. Alright, so now we're going to try the test scan tool again, and hopefully this works this time. Oh, it's working. Oh, here we go. Got into the ABS. So now on here you have multiple options. So actually I'm going to read code, see what it says. Please wait. And we have left front wheel speed sensor, right front wheel speed sensor, which actually makes sense. I haven't plugged those back in yet, so that makes sense. ABS anti-braking system pump motor controller. Weird. Left front wheel sensor again. Right front wheel. So I know I plugged in the back ones. Steering angle sensor. Alright. And again, oh, I think it's okay. So I got that. So from here, what you're going to go to special function. Then you're going to go to your ABS. It says, before continuing to further workshop manual and complete all necessary steps before starting test. Prepare vehicle for test, vehicles in park. So this vehicle's manual, so I mean there's no more further than park than being lifted up in the air in neutral. Verity voltage greater than 10 volts, I'm pretty sure it is. After procedure is complete, perform manual bleeding. Refer to the workshop manual for procedure. Alright, so I'm going to click yes. So depress the gas pedal and hold. So we should hear the pump kick on. So we're holding it down, and we're going to press OK. So the operations perform successfully release brake pedal. Alright. So should be good to go. Oh yeah, there it is. Nice and firm. So it's still spongy, and that's mainly because the brakes themselves still need to be bled, but this actually feels firm. So we're good there. Now we're gonna go bleed each one of the brakes, and then we're gonna go from there. Alright, so it's looking good. Checked all the lines, checked the ABS module, that looks all good. Checked the brake booster, checked all the other lines that leading to the brakes, they're all good. There's just a small leak coming from this one, so I just tightened that one down, so we should be good to go. I'm gonna bleed the brakes now, and then from there just tighten the bolts for the tie rod ends and front sway bar connection link and the lower control arm. Once that's all bolted down, tighten down, hook up the steering rack shaft to the steering column, and then we should be able to put this down on the ground. Throw the airbox back in and everything, plug all that in. But we should be able to put this down on the ground, start it up, and see how she drives, finally. So I'm going to go ahead and bleed the brakes right now, and then we're going to go from there. Alright, sweet. The brakes are bled, ABS unit's bled. So now all that's left to do is I got to tighten down the bolts for the tie rods, the lower control arm, and the front sway bar end link, and then hook up the steering column to the steering shaft, and then throw the wheels on, test the steering column, or test the steering, turn it left and right, make sure it moves freely, and all the stops are good. So stops all the way left, stops all the way right, make sure the clock spring is still centered, and then we'll be able to go from there, getting closer and closer. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten those down, and then we're gonna go from there. All right, so you got the tie rod in, bolted down, it's tightened up, the lower control arm's tightened down, and then the front sway bar end link is tightened down. Everything should be good to go as far as I know. Everything is tightened down. There's a lot that's still kind of just not plugged in and loose, so you can kind of see right there. Yeah, the AC line is kind of just hanging there. There's a lot of stuff that's not plugged in. Up here, this module for the speedo, because of the Tremec, that's not bolted down to anything. I mean, this is just in the way. A lot of the wiring isn't like bolted down, but for the most part it's all there ready to go. So I'm gonna throw the wheels on, tighten them down, test the brakes. So keep it in neutral, push down the brakes, try to roll it, let go off the brakes, try to roll it, and use the e-brake, try to roll it, and then take the e-brake off, try to roll it, and just make sure that the brakes are working before I try to take it out on the road. Gonna drive it real slowly, kind of just take it around the block, kind of just like warm it up, get all the fluids moving, make sure everything's good to go. But as far as I know, everything is bolted down, underneath at least, ready to go. So I'm gonna go ahead, throw the wheels on, tighten them down. Oh, I still need to hook up the steering column, so I'm gonna do that. Once I do that, make sure that the steering column's straight, nice in line. Then I gotta bolt down the steering wheel. Once we got all that done, I'm gonna throw in the seat, attach the attach the seat belt, and then take it out for a quick spin, see how she rides. Well, there's good news and then there's bad news. There's always got to be some bad news. But we got the wheels on, they're all tightened down. They're not torqued down yet because it's not on the ground. But they went on smoothly, they're all good to go. And then the same exact thing I encountered the last time, well, when I first got this car, was now the same thing I'm seeing on this one. Just get down real quick. See this wheel straight? That one's poking out to the left. So you either need to adjust the tie rod ends. I don't know how much more there is left in them, but I'm gonna have to try to work with the tie rod end and basically compress them inward to try to straighten out the wheels as close as possible, like by the eye, and I guess from there try to see what else might be the issue. Another thing I was thinking is maybe the steering rack is not from this year model. It could be from the S550s, maybe. I need to look into that. It could be, and if it is, it could be that it's wider, which is why the wheels stick out the way they do. So that's one possibility. The other one I was thinking just now is it could be that the knuckle actually did get damaged. Ow. So looking over here, nah, they look fine. It could be I just need to pull in the tie rod in a little bit. Maybe even have to get shorter tie rod ends. I don't know. I'll have to see what I end up doing about that. But for now, I'm not going to be able to get to drive this today, which is really unfortunate. I was really looking forward to finally being able to get this off the jacks and back on the road. But now seeing that the wheels are still crooked, I'm going to have to look into it, see why these are all out of whack, and then we're going to go from there. So I guess that's probably gonna be it for today, and I'll probably do a little bit of research, try to figure out what's the best way to try to make this work, or maybe I have the wrong part or something, I don't know. So for now, thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned. Hopefully they get this car finally on the road sometime in the future. Stay tuned for more, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.